So it turns out it's pretty much impossible to have an above ground pool, or in this case a water trough, that where fish can survive and plants and stuff like that in Austin, Texas. So, I mean, a big part of what that thing was for was obviously having some fish in there and stuff like that, which is very cool, but also to be able to dip water out if I just wanted to. This is inside my little garden here, and so I could just dip a little water out if I needed to water one thing, instead of turning the hose on, and then hopefully it can act as a reservoir and I can fill it with rainwater and then, yeah, save water. But can't do it. It's too hot. So even in something that size, the water gets up above 90 degrees in the middle of the summer, like right now. So what we did is we dug a hole, and we're gonna put it in the hole. Which was no easy feat. This is all clay, Texas clay, and so it's like concrete. I've been putting a lot of wood chips and stuff like that in here to kind of start to work the soil, you know, and straw and things like that. But down below, it is just pure clay. Yeah, it's hard to dig. So anyway, dug that big hole. I'm always amazed at how much dirt you can create by digging a hole. I mean, this is a huge amount of dirt. This is a massive amount of dirt that came out of that hole inside the garden. So it's about 1.5 feet down, which should come to, we'll see, probably about right here on the tank, which should keep it pretty cool because most of it will be in the ground, and that should give enough of an opportunity for, you know, water hyacinth and not water hyacinth, can't have those here, water lilies and stuff like that to grow in there, which will provide additional shade. So I'm putting this gravel down to kind of even that out a little bit and provide some, you know, the other thing about this soil is it heaves really bad between between wet and dry. So it expands significantly when it gets wet, which, you know, hopefully this gravel will give it a little buffer so that it doesn't tweak the bottom of the tank there. I was just walking by that. So that is what happens. Probably kind of hard to see, but the Texas clay cracks, and that's about 1.5 feet deep. So there are cracks like this everywhere. It's just crazy dry here right now. So I'm going to spread this out, and we'll see if we can get it in there by ourselves. It's not that heavy, but it's awkward as hell. So I may have to go get my son once he wakes up to help me. So let's spread it out though. We'll see what we can do. Okay. So I got this kind of spread out here as best I could. I kind of checked for level. With that thing, it's going to be a little bit off, but I think what I can do is once I get it in here, I'll put some water in here, and that'll allow me to kind of shift the clay a little bit underneath so that it evens it out. And then the weight of the water will do it as well. So See if I can get that thing in there without killing myself. Did that loud noise scare you, buddy? Did it scare you? I'm sorry. Loud noise scare him? I'm sorry, buddy. Made him a little worried, didn't it? Hide that head. Hide that head, buddy. That's the only way to get over your fears. Hide your head. What a good boy. Yes, he is. All better? All better? What a good boy. What a good boy he is. Yes, he is. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. Whew. All right, got her in there. And it appears that, I haven't checked all the levels yet, but that is pretty darn good. I'm sure one of these is not going to be good. Look at that. Dead nuts. All right. Let's see here. And that was not quite right. So we're a little high over here. By how much? Not much. I think I can work that with some water. Yeah, so I pulled it a little bit that way, and that pretty much did it. So, that's amazing. That worked out well. All right, so should have got that out of there before I put it back down in here, but we'll get that out. And maybe throw some water in here and see how she sits. All right, well, that was a bit of a slog trying to get that filled back in. We used a lot of dirt filling that sucker back in, I gotta say. But got the wood chips back. It's actually deeper than I thought, which is great. I've got my little, so this is a Laguna Pond Filter, which I really love these things. You gotta, there's like a little kind of covered pond pump in there, which has a screen on it. It's probably kind of hard to see. That pumps water up through the filter. And this guy's got a big rough sponge in it and some volcanic rock. And so this is a great filter for a pond because a couple of things. One is you don't have to take it apart to maintenance it. This has like a little brush down in here, which when you move it up and down, it roughs up that sponge, and then you can empty the water out by just turning this valve. So what I actually do, or what I'm going to do, is use a hose. So I've got a fitting that I can connect that to a garden hose, and so whenever I clean the pond, or empty out the detritus from the filter, I'll be able to run that into the garden and water the garden, which is going to be pretty cool. So really like these things. The Laguna stuff, really good. So let's plug it in, see what happens here. So obviously I've got to run, these hoses better, hide them somewhere, and maybe create some kind of a waterfall. Not sure about that yet, but you can see that it's a pretty small pump, but it really creates a whole bunch of water. So this will take about a month to run through what they call the ammonia nitrite cycle, which I need to get something in there to create the ammonia fish, or something. And then the end of that process will be, goes from ammonia to nitrites and then to nitrates. And nitrates is what is really good to water or fertilize the garden. So I also have a pretty good fish load in here so that I can create a lot of fish waste and empty that out into the garden all the time. I put a little water in there. It's supposed to rain over the next couple of days. Hopefully I can get enough rainwater in my rain barrels to fill this up so I don't have to waste that water. It's not really wasted because I'll use it in the garden ultimately anyway. But I think getting this down in the ground like that is actually going to make this successful. After all this time of trying to, I've tried to shade it, I've tried to do all kinds of stuff, and it just isn't enough because it's too hot. And the Texas sun is a magnifying glass. So, and I don't think evaporation cools it very much because the humidity is like 80% a lot of the time. So we don't even get the benefit of evaporation to cool it. So I'll get some water lilies to put in there. Probably just let it go through the ammonia nitrate cycle on its own before I put any fish in there. And then I've got a little tester so I can test that, make sure. But it takes about a month to do. Unless I seed it, I may find some other sponges and some other things. Plus the plants, when I put them in there, they'll seed it as well with bacteria. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. That was a lot of work, I gotta say, but hopefully it'll make the possibility of having fish out here in the garden real. That's been, it's the whole reason I built this, well, not the whole reason, but I wanted to kind of have a trellis here, a pergola with grapevines on it, growing up and around, and then a pond in the middle, which the pond in the winter should, especially when this is covered, will provide a little bit of kind of a microclimate, a little warm thing. It'll keep things warmer in here in the middle. So maybe I can get away with planting some plants that normally I wouldn't be able to plant. But yeah, so that's it. That's been a project. Now I got a couple more just like it that I got to do.